goes back a few years, a little more than a decade ago, but I spent, the equivalent of a full summer communicating with Scott Boras and learned a lot about the agent business. And within that, learned a lot about player evaluation. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Paul Skenes is going to be worth a ton of money. The question that I'm going to pose today is, how much is he worth to the Pirates? Believe it or not, I'm not going to be getting into how much he should get paid or what his existing framework would be for an extension, because that gets into the labor agreement and the way the contracts are laid out in the labor agreement, and it really doesn't have anything to do with this. I'm gonna roll back instead to those few months of high drama when the Pirates drafted Pedro Alvarez number 2 overall. Really should have been number 1 overall, but Tampa Bay decided they didn't want Alvarez because Boras was representing him, and they felt that that was going to be a problem. Well, it turns out it was a problem, only it became the Pirates' problem. And as a result, because Boras is who he is, and because he saw this as being a potentially landmark case, let's just say we talked a lot, like I think more than I did with people in my family. But that also was cool, not just because Boras is who he is in the agency world, and by that I mean across the scope of professional sports, but also because I learned so much. Yeah, stuff I didn't agree with necessarily, but just you absorb information, and that's good. That's always good. And one of those was about how he views ownerships in Major League Baseball and how much revenue they miss out on by not going after what he at the time was calling premium players. And he has all different kinds of names for these sorts of things, changes them all the time. But back then it was premium players. And he would come up with these amazingly intricate and colorful presentations to show to teams that would be interested in his free agents about the money they could make back off of that player. Because there is, of course, a perception that when you're paying the player, that's just how it works. You pay the player plays baseball, end transaction. And it's not the case. It's not the case. If you've ever seen some of the more sophisticated breakdowns, for example, of Shohei Ohtani's value to the Dodgers, meaning after the crazy contract that they signed him to, deferments and all that other stuff included, about the money that they make off of him by having a superstar in the house every day, by having a 57,000-seat Dodger Stadium filled for a lot of games, by having their unprecedented local TV network deal either sustain or increase value. So that got me thinking about Paul Skenes and the Pirates. And it's different in a lot of ways. For one, well, Ohtani's a pitcher too, but Skenes is only a pitcher, and Skenes is only going to be on the mound once every 5 or 6 days, or over the course of a full season, probably for only around 16 or 17 starts. So out of 81 home dates, yeah, it's not anywhere near the impact. The Pirates also remain one of the cheapest tickets in any of the major sports, somewhere around $25 per on average. So if Skenes fills up the place on his 16 or 17 starts, and you can presume that there would have been, 15,000 or 16,000 people being at the game anyway, on average again. Let's just round some of these numbers off for easy math. 20 tickets, 20 starts, and 20,000 additional people at each of those 20 starts. You've got $8 million extra. Now, that's nice, but that's not going to move the needle. It's just not. So what you would need in order to truly capitalize on Skenes, guys, I know everyone's thinking to themselves right now, merchandise. Merchandise doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference anywhere. Why? Because merchandise, everywhere that you see it in Major League Baseball, is divided by 30. If you see a Skenes jersey, know that the Yankees and the Dodgers are each getting 1/30th of that, the same way the Pirates get 1/30th of an Ohtani jersey or an Aaron Judge jersey. So merchandise isn't it. What it has to be is the broadcasting. The Pirates have to have ratings that go through the roof. And then from there, and this is the part where I really can't answer much, they need to have a way to be able to monetize that independently of their arrangement with the Penguins across town. Now, I have never been told what that arrangement is, whether or not the Pirates are just collecting a flat fee from Nesson, which is the Penguins' Boston-based broadcasting operation that's owned by Fenway Sports Group, which of course owns both the Red Sox and the Penguins. But if the Pirates were smart, they would have had something like that put in, because if they end up being the ones that draw all the ratings and all the people, and they, by the way, have twice as many games as the Penguins, they should have allowed for contractual flexibility to make sure that if Skenes becomes this super crazy wild phenomenon, and I mean a lot more than what we just saw in 2024, then they can profit accordingly. I don't know that that's in place. This is my best attempt to answer this question, but believe me, I'm not going to let it go. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Abandon ship, Bob. Sell the team. Are you a Pirates fan who is angry or apathetic about our perennial losing baseball team? Do you feel helpless because you don't know how to make a difference? Well, good news. We have something you can do about it. Join our Sell the Team movement. We're a group of passionate fans voicing our frustration and demanding change through billboard campaigns, press outreach, protests, and involvement at local city government meetings. Go to OurTeamNotHis.com to get involved.
Today's J1Q comes from John, who says, DK, say what you want about Neil Huntington, but he reliably put together a strong bullpen year after year. He knew when to move on, from Matt Capps to Joel Hanrahan to Jason Grilli to Mark Melancon, even to Felipe Vasquez, who was an all-star before his, well, you know what, ran him out of baseball. If Neil could do it, so can Ben Cherington, right? Right? I don't know if he can or not. Huntington had a very similar approach to building the bullpen that Cherington uses, that most GMs use. I referenced it on yesterday's show, and that's just, you have no idea what you're going to get, so you might as well take as many different arms as possible, throw them against the wall, see who sticks, but within that, make sure you've got 2 or 3 at the back end that you can count on. That's it. That's really it. That's the way most teams do it. It's not original. It's not innovative. I'm sure some GMs do it better than others. And I agree with you that Huntington had a feel for that sort of thing. I'll continue to stress that the 2024 bullpen should have been a good one. I don't blame Cherington for it, unless you want to go back to spring training and blame Cherington for David Bednar being rushed straight from Bradenton onto the active roster when he hadn't pitched in the final 2 weeks of spring training, and thus throwing Bednar off for who knows how long. You can do that if you want, but in terms of the way the roster was composed, I'm not blaming any GM for that, because nobody anywhere would bank on Bednar having command problems. Nobody after the first half of the season that Colin Holderman had would anticipate that he'd all of a sudden become, you saw it. And on top of that, what seemed excessive maybe to some at the time, that Aroldis Chapman contract turned out to be a pretty decent one. I mean, you don't like to see a middle reliever or a late inning, not closer reliever taking up 1/8 of your payroll, but it's not like Chapman let anybody down there. So can Cherington do it? Sure, I suppose so, but I don't know, man. I don't know what to think. Because if you can be so bad at one extraordinarily important facet of doing the job, that, of course, being acquiring, developing, nurturing hitters, why would anyone have confidence in other things that you'd be able to do? Just saying. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.